Hey guys, Mrs. Tennis here. We are going to talk about objective minimalist design and your project this week. So here are some of the terms that we are going to talk about today, and hopefully you will either A, watch the case for minimalism art after this video, or you've already watched it. These are really important terms to know, especially with this next project and our projects to come, and just the importance of minimalism and what that is. So we've talked about space imbalance before, but just a quick recap. Space is the area between and around objects. Space can also refer to the feeling of depth within your drawing or painting or three-dimensional work. Real space is three-dimensional. In visual art, when we create the feeling or illusion of depth, we call it space. Balance is the distribution of the visual weight of objects, colors, texture, and space. If the design was a scale, these elements should be balanced to make a design feel stable. In a symmetrical balance, hopefully you've heard that term before, the elements used on one side of the design are similar or pretty exact to those on the other side. So it's like cutting it down the center and both sides are the same, like a butterfly. In an asymmetrical balance, the sides are different but still look balanced. So even though it's not the exact same on both sides, there's similar elements on both sides, but they don't look exactly the same. And in the radial balance, the elements are arranged around a central point and they may be similar. Vocabulary, again, some negative space. This again is a repeat of something that we already talked about with negative space, but negative space is the space around objects and it has shape. Okay? Objective art is pretty easy to explain. I don't know why I couldn't say that. But it's basically the opposite of non-objective art, right? We already had a non-objective project where it was supposed to be not recognizable. This time, objective art is quite simply the opposite. We want to see exactly what it is. It easily depicts recognizable subject matter. It's also known as representational or figurative art. So, for example, if there's a collage of a dog or zoo animal, are objective works of art because they illustrate something we recognize, okay? Minimalism is a form of art. It is also called ABC art, minimal art, literalist art, reductivism, rejective art, and it all emerged in New York in the early 1960s, so honestly not that long ago, in which the simplest and fewest elements are used to create the maximum effect. Minimalists attempted to avoid metaphorical associations, symbolism, and suggestions of spiritual transcendence. So quite literally, what you see is what it is. It doesn't really represent something astronomically cool or crazy. Like, it's super minimal and super simple. It removes the appearance of composition from the work, and it also removes the artist's guiding hand or thought process. So when you look at minimalist art, and we'll take a look at some in a little bit, the artist isn't trying to make you see something. Like all of our art we've been doing before and the art that we've been producing, I've been telling you guys, I want to see something. Like, I want you to help me see what you're producing. In minimalist art, they don't. They remove that completely. So you're kind of on your own when you're looking at it. It also removes that aesthetic decision from the fabrication of the object, and it kind of just is. It just is what it is, which is a kind of crazy thing to say, but there's really sometimes no explanation for it, and sometimes you're wondering, like, why is that even art? Well, quite simply, it's because it's minimalism. It makes you think without the artist actually implying for you to think. So here's some pieces. Hopefully some of these might even look familiar, and hopefully maybe even some of these you might question, what in the world? Because it's art. And I always love getting this question, like, how did that even become famous? Like, or kids would say, man, I could have done that. Yeah, you could have, but you didn't. So there's always that. All right, but the one on the right here that you see, these blocks of blue just kind of scaling down, Again, so simple, yet beautiful. I don't know what you want to say. I always say his name, but it's Pierre Mondrian. Makes these fun compositions where there are black lines painted in squares and like rectangles, and then he kind of just paints random squares in with the primary colors. And then here we just have a value gradation of blue kind of spread out in a random way. Again, it just kind of is. And there's no real explanation for it. The artist isn't trying to make you see something. I don't know. That's just called minimalism. Okay, here's some more. This one's kind of fun. The bottom left one is lights at an angle. Don't know what it is. This top one's fun again. I like the colors with it. This is by artist Frank Stella. And then again we have a canvas. Long canvas. Painted blue on the outsides and a red stripe down the middle. It could honestly mean whatever you want it to mean. I kind of think that's the intention of minimalism, is that even though the artist doesn't make you see something, but it makes you question what you see. Here's some more minimalism. These are just a bunch of black painted canvases in a white room. This one's just a balloon tied to a chair. And then we have a rainbow of paint. There's also minimalism in architecture. So that's where you don't really see the non-conventional roofs and stone or, things outside of white on these buildings. So I think they look really cool. Other people call them more modernism, which it definitely is, but it's very minimalistic. It's simple windows, simple white walls all over, nothing too complex. Alright, so that is minimalism. Hopefully you got a little insight of it, but hopefully now either you have watched the video, The Case for Minimalism, or you will watch that video and see the importance of why minimalism still does need to exist and why it's a really cool thing that we have. Even though it makes you question why in the world this is even art, but I think it's cool. Alright, hopefully you guys learned something.